I was a bad father, and it haunts me, a life story. Narrated by Robert James Whitfield, age 66, Part 1. The quiet morning. I am 66 years old. 66, it sounds like a highway number, doesn't it? Route 66. That old American road that everyone romanticizes but no one uses anymore. That's how my life feels right now. Something people pass by, talk about, but never actually visit. A relic. I live alone. Let me make that clear right away, because it affects everything I'm about to say. I live alone in a house built for 5 people. 4 bedrooms, 2.5 bathrooms, a backyard with a swing set that probably hasn't been moved in 15 years. The chains are rusted now. I noticed this last spring, sitting on the back porch drinking my coffee, looking out at the garden as usual. I saw those chains hanging there, frozen, turned orange with rust, and I thought, that's right. Everything in this house is frozen, everything except me, and I'm slowing down too. My name is Robert. Most people called me Bob. My wife called me Bobby, back when she still called me anything at all. My kids, I have 2, a son named Michael and a daughter named Katie. They called me Dad when they were little. Then they called me Father when things got formal. Then they stopped calling at all, and that right there is the story of my life, compressed into one sentence. I went from Bobby to nothing, from everything to silence. If I could go back in time, and Lord, I know everybody says that. I know it's the oldest line in the book. But if I could, I wouldn't go back to fix some big dramatic moment. There was no catastrophe. That's the thing people don't understand. My life wasn't ruined by one terrible event. It was ruined by 10,000 ordinary mornings where I picked up my briefcase instead of picking up my son. It was ruined quietly, slowly, the way rust eats a swing set chain. You don't notice it happening until one day, the whole thing just snaps. I wake up every morning around 5:15, not because I set an alarm. I haven't set an alarm in 6 years, not since I retired from Hartfield & Associates, the consulting firm where I spent 34 years making other companies more efficient while my own family fell apart. No, I wake up at 5:15 because my body just does that now. Old age has its own schedule. You just wake up, stare at the ceiling, and for about 3 seconds, 3 beautiful, ignorant seconds, you don't remember anything. You're just a person lying in bed. No past, no regrets, just breathing. Then it comes like a wave, the remembering. And it's not the good stuff that comes first. It's the look on Michael's face when he was 14 and I missed his baseball championship. It's Katie's voice on the phone 7 years ago saying, "I just don't think we have anything to talk about, Dad." It's my ex-wife, Linda, standing in the kitchen doorway in 2011, her coat already on, her suitcase already in the car, saying, "I've been invisible in this house for 20 years, Bobby. I can be invisible somewhere else for free." That one plays on a loop. I get up, I make coffee, black, 2 cups. I sit in my chair by the front window. It's a leather recliner, dark brown, cracked along the left armrest. The leather has shaped itself to my body over the years, which is both a comfort and a kind of accusation, like even the furniture knows I haven't gone anywhere. From this chair, I watch the street, Maple Drive, the kind of street they put in movies when they want to show you what normal looks like in America. There's a man across the road, younger guy, maybe 40, who walks his 2 kids to the bus stop every morning. A boy and a girl. He holds their hands, one on each side, and they walk slow. Real slow, the kind of slow that used to drive me crazy. When Michael and Katie were little and they wanted to walk somewhere, I'd be 3 steps ahead looking at my watch, calculating how many minutes until I needed to be somewhere else. "Come on, guys, let's move it." I actually said that. To my own children. Let's move it, like they were employees behind schedule. This man across the street, he doesn't rush. He crouches down at the bus stop and says something to each kid before they get on. I can't hear what he says, but the little girl laughs every time. Every single morning I sit in my chair with my black coffee and I feel something crack inside me, not break. It broke a long time ago. Crack. Like an old wall that's already fallen, settling deeper into the rubble. I was not a good father. Let me say that clearly because I've spent years dancing around it, using softer words. I was busy. I was providing. I was doing my best. All of that is what we call in the business world a reframing, a spin. But I'm 66 years old. I'm sitting alone in a 4-bedroom house at 5:30 in the morning watching a stranger be the father I never was. And I'm done with spin. I was a bad father, and it haunts me. It haunts me the way only quiet things can. Not loud, not violent, not dramatic. It doesn't scream, it whispers. It sits in the corner of every room I enter, in the passenger seat of my car when I drive to the grocery store, in the empty chair across from me when I eat dinner alone at 6:15 every evening. It's there when I catch my own eyes in the mirror at night, this old man with gray hair and tired skin, and I think, who are you? What did you do with all those years? Where did everyone go? The house is so quiet now. When the kids were little, this house was chaos. Shoes in the hallway, cereal bowls in the sink, the television going, somebody yelling. He took my crayon. She's looking at me. All of that glorious, beautiful noise that I used to walk through like an obstacle course on my way to my office upstairs, where I could close the door and make phone calls in peace. I craved silence back then. I got my wish. Be careful what you wish for. That's not just a saying, it's a warning. Sometimes late at night, I stand in the hallway upstairs and I listen, maybe for the echo of a little girl's voice practicing multiplication tables in the bathroom because she liked the way it echoed off the tiles. Maybe the sound of a boy bouncing a tennis ball against his bedroom wall. Thud, 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 while talking on the phone. I used to bang on the wall and tell him to stop. Michael, knock it off, I'm trying to concentrate. Trying to concentrate. On what? On a spreadsheet, on an email to a client whose name I can't even remember. I traded the sound of my son's life for silence, and now I have all the silence I could ever want, and it's the loudest thing I've ever heard. The worst part is that I didn't know. Or maybe I did know, but I told myself I didn't. I told myself what I was doing was noble. Sacrifice. That's the word I used. I'm working 60, 70 hours a week, so my family can have a nice house, so my kids can go to good schools. Even the vacations, I'd bring my laptop and spend half the time on the hotel balcony with my phone pressed to my ear while my family was at the pool. Linda would come up, hair still wet, towel around her shoulders, and she'd give me this look, not angry. That's what kills me, not angry, just resigned, the look of someone who stopped expecting anything a long time ago. She told me once, probably 2003, Bobby, the kids don't need a bigger house. They need you in the house. I nodded. I said, I know. Things will slow down after this quarter. Things never slowed down. There was always another quarter, always another client, always another reason to believe that real life was just around the corner. Part 2. The turning point. Let me take you back. Let me take you to where it started, or where I think it started, because when you look back on a life, it's hard to find the exact moment things turned. It's not like a road with a clear fork. It's more like a river that slowly shifts direction. And by the time you notice you're going the wrong way, you're already miles from where you meant to be. It was 1989. Fall, late October. Michael was 1, just over a year old. Chubby legs, big brown eyes, that little laugh that sounded like a hiccup. He was just starting to walk, that wobbly, drunk little walk babies do. Linda used to sit on the living room floor with her arms open, and Michael would toddle toward her, and she'd catch him every time. I was 28. I'd been at Hartfield & Associates for about 2 years, low-level analyst, doing grunt work. But I was hungry, ambitious. I grew up in Akron, working-class family. Dad drove a delivery truck for a bread company. Mom worked part-time at a dry cleaner's. Good people, honest people. But there was always this tension around money. You could feel it at dinner when Dad went quiet after looking at the bills. I swore on everything that my family would never feel that tightness. My kids would never hear their mother apologize at Christmas. That was the promise. And the promise sounded so righteous that I never questioned what it would cost or who would pay. In October of 1989, a senior partner named Gerald Fenton called me into his office. Big man, silver hair, suspenders. He said, Whitfield, I've been watching you. You're sharp. I'm offering you a shot at the Burroughs account. Biggest account we've landed this year. If you perform, you're on the partner track. The Burroughs account was a manufacturing conglomerate out of Detroit. Big money. It would mean late nights, weekends, travel. 6 months of working like a machine. I went home and told Linda. Michael was in his high chair, mushing banana into his face. When I was done explaining, she asked one question. What about us? And I said, I remember this so clearly. This is for us, all of it. Everything I do is for us. She smiled. But the smile didn't reach her eyes. I noticed that. I filed it away under things I'll deal with later. The later file. That's where I put everything that mattered. I took the account. I was at the office by 6:30 and didn't leave until 9, 10, sometimes 11 at night. I worked Saturdays, Sundays. If Michael crawled over and grabbed at my papers, I'd move him. Gently, always gently. And say, not now, buddy. Daddy's working. Not now, buddy. If I had $1 for every time I said that, not now, buddy, not now, sweetie, not now, Linda, I wouldn't need the retirement fund. The account was a success. I got the promotion. The raise was almost double my salary. And I thought, see, it was worth it. Now I can ease up. But here's the thing about the ladder, and I wish every young person would hear this. The ladder never ends. There is no top. There's always another rung. And every time you reach one, somebody is pointing up saying, nice work, keep climbing. So I kept climbing. Katie was born in 1991. Beautiful girl, red hair like Linda's mother. She used to grab my thumb, not my hand, my thumb specifically, and look up at me with these enormous green eyes. And I would feel this overwhelming, almost painful love, and I would think, this is what matters, this tiny hand on my thumb. And then my phone would ring, and I'd slide my thumb free, and the whole world would shrink back down to a spreadsheet and a deadline. The years moved fast. I missed Michael's 3rd birthday because I was in a hotel room in Pittsburgh. I called home and sang happy birthday into the phone while Linda held the receiver near his ear. I told myself, next year. I'll be there next year. Do you see the pattern? The promise is always next time. The sacrifice is always temporary. The real life, the life where you're holding your kid's hand, is always next month, next quarter, next year. You believe it because the alternative is admitting you're choosing work over your children. So you wrap it in noble language. You call it providing. You call it building a future. You tell yourself the story of the hard-working father. But your family isn't thriving. Your family is waiting. And eventually they stop. The real turning point came in 1997. Michael was 9. Katie was 6. I had been promoted to vice president, corner office, 9th floor, view of the city, secretary, parking spot with my name on it, expense account. I was making more money than my father had ever seen in his life. Katie had a dance recital that Saturday. She'd been taking ballet since she was 4. Linda signed her up, drove her to classes, sewed her costumes. Katie wasn't a natural dancer. She was clumsy and mixed up left and right, but she loved it. She'd been rehearsing for 3 months. 3 months of pirouettes in the living room, 3 months of asking me to watch. Look, Daddy, look at my arabesque. Is that good? And I'd look up from my laptop for 2 seconds and say, beautiful, sweetheart. Then back to the screen. Friday night, the night before the recital, I was packing my bag. Linda was in the bedroom doorway, arms crossed, not angry, just braced. Don't tell me, she said. It's the Moretti pitch. I have to fly to New York tomorrow morning. Katie's recital is at 2 o'clock. I know. Maybe I can take an early flight back. Bobby. The way she said my name. Quiet. Almost gentle. Like she was talking to someone already gone. She asked about you this morning. She said, Daddy will be in the front row, right? She said it like it was a fact, like it was the most certain thing in her world. I stood there with my garment bag, and I felt it. The fork in the road. My daughter. The universe had arranged itself to give me one clear question, which matters more? And I chose the pitch. I chose a conference room in Midtown Manhattan, over a folding chair in a middle school auditorium. I chose a PowerPoint deck over a 6-year-old in a tutu. We got the client. Gerald clapped me on the back. We drank scotch near Times Square. I felt powerful for about 4 hours. Then I called home. Katie answered. She was 6, and she'd just learned to answer properly. Hello, Whitfield residents. When she heard my voice, there was a pause, a small, terrible pause. And then she said very quietly, "You didn't come." Not a question, a statement. "I'm sorry, sweetheart. Daddy had to work. But Mommy said you did so great. Mommy recorded it. You can watch it later." Later, there it was again. Even my 6-year-old had learned the language of my absence. I watched the recording on Sunday. Katie was in a pink tutu, third from the left. She stumbled once, turned the wrong way during a formation, but at one point, about 2 minutes in, she looked out at the audience, scanning the rows, and then her face changed, just a flicker, just a shadow, and she looked back at her teacher and kept dancing. She was looking for me, and I wasn't there. And she kept dancing. I put the camcorder down, went into the bathroom, sat on the edge of the bathtub, put my face in my hands. Something heavy settled onto my chest, something that has never left. Not for one day, not for 27 years. That was the turning point, not because I changed. That's the tragedy. It was the turning point because I should have changed and I didn't. I got up Monday morning, put on my suit, and drove to work. There are sins of commission and sins of omission. My whole life was the second kind. I wasn't cruel, I wasn't abusive, I didn't yell or hit or drink. I just wasn't there, a ghost in my own house, a name on a mailbox, a signature on birthday cards that Linda bought and Linda wrapped and Linda handed to the kids saying, "This is from Daddy too." Part 3. The cost. Here's what nobody tells you about success. They show you the trophy, but not the empty house. They show you the corner office, but not the dinner table with 3 chairs pulled out and 1 still pushed in. By 2001, I was a senior vice president. My salary was in the mid-6 figures. We had the big house on Maple Drive, 2 cars, a boat we used twice a year, a timeshare in Hilton Head that Linda took the kids to while I stayed for one more project. I had respect, awards, crystal plaques that said excellence in leadership. And every night, I came home to a house that was already asleep. I'd pull into the garage around 9:30, kill the engine, sit in the car in the dark for a minute, sometimes 2, just sitting. I didn't know why then. I think I know now. I was preparing for the silence, bracing for that walk through the dark kitchen, past the refrigerator with the kids' drawings held up by magnets, drawings I hadn't really looked at, past the scattered toys in the living room like little landmines, up the stairs where the carpet was worn in a path that my feet had memorized, past Michael's door with the hum of his computer and the faint blue glow leaking underneath, past Katie's dark room where the light was always off because she was the early sleeper, into the master bedroom where Linda was either reading or pretending to sleep. You want to know something? Some nights, sitting in that dark garage, I could hear things from the house, the muffled sound of the television, a toilet flushing upstairs. Once, I heard Katie laughing, this bright, pure laugh that traveled through the walls and the closed garage door and found me sitting in my car like a stranger outside his own life. And I thought, I should go in. I should go in right now and find out what's so funny. I should be part of that laughter. But I sat there another minute, checking my phone, reading one more email, always one more. Then, the laughter stopped, and I went inside to a quiet house. The pretending to be asleep thing started around 2000. She'd lie there, turned away, breathing in that measured way people breathe when they want you to think they're sleeping. We both knew. Neither said anything. It was easier than having the conversation we both knew was coming. Michael was 13 in 2001. 13. That age where a boy is trying to figure out what kind of man he's going to be, and the main reference he has is his father. What was his reference? A closed office door. A man who talked to strangers on the phone with more warmth than he talked to his own family at dinner. He played baseball, left fielder, decent arm, not a star but solid. Coaches called him reliable. He had games on Saturdays. I went to maybe 1 in 4. I'd stand at the fence with the other dads, and he'd glance over, checking if I was there. A glance and a nod. That was our entire interaction, like business associates passing in a hallway. The other fathers, I noticed them, even then. They'd lean on the fence, yelling encouragement, knowing the names of every kid on the team. One dad, a guy named Jim, kept a little scorebook, wrote down every play his son made, After games, they'd go get ice cream and review it together. Michael mentioned it once at dinner. Jake's dad keeps score of every game. They go over it after. He wasn't asking me to do the same. He'd stopped asking me for things by then. He was just reporting a fact about what other fathers did. The kind of fact that lands softly, but leaves a bruise. The games I missed, I'd ask about later. How'd the game go? Fine. Fine. The word teenagers use when they've given up. Fine means I don't think you actually care, but here's something so you'll stop asking. I should have pushed, should have sat down and said, talk to me, tell me something real. But pushing meant confronting the distance, and confronting the distance meant admitting I caused it, and admitting that meant changing, and changing meant giving up the career that had become the only identity I had left. Because here's the secret. After a certain point, the work isn't about the money. The money is nice. But the being needed, the being important, that becomes who you are. You don't know how to sit on the couch on a Saturday and watch cartoons because you've been out of practice so long, it feels foreign. You don't know how to talk to your wife about feelings because you've forgotten how, if you ever knew. My father didn't talk about feelings. He came home, ate dinner, watched the news, went to bed. I thought I was different because I made more money and wore nicer suits. But I was exactly the same. My father with a corner office. Same silence, different furniture. Around 2003, Katie stopped asking me to watch her practice. She was 12, still dancing but getting into art, drawing, painting, hours with charcoal pencils. Linda told me, Katie's getting really good. You should see her sketches. I said, I'll look this weekend. Did I? I don't remember, which means I didn't. She had a portfolio in a big black folder. I found it years later when everything fell apart. Pages of drawings, landscapes, portraits, and one near the back, a pencil drawing of a man sitting at a desk. His back is to the viewer. He's hunched over papers. There's a door behind him, slightly open, and in the doorway, barely visible, a small girl, watching. That drawing is in my nightstand now. The most honest portrait anyone has ever made of me. Michael went to Ohio State in 2007, business major. Of course, I drove him to campus on a Saturday in August. When it was time to say goodbye, I shook his hand. I shook my 18-year-old son's hand, like a client. And something in his expression, not anger, not sadness, something worse, understanding. He had understood for years who I was, and in that moment, he accepted it. I drove home in silence. Linda didn't say a word. Katie left for art school in Chicago in 2009, the School of the Art Institute. She got in on the strength of that portfolio I never looked at. That same year, Linda told me she was leaving. A quiet Tuesday in October. She was at the kitchen table with chamomile tea. I came through the door at 8:45, and she said, in a voice perfectly calm and perfectly shattered, I've been invisible in this house for 20 years, Bobby. I can be invisible somewhere else for free. I stood there. She raised her hand. Don't say you'll change. I've heard those words so many times they don't mean anything anymore. You're a good man, Bobby. You're not cruel. You're just not here. You haven't been here in 20 years. She moved out 2 weeks later. 22 years of marriage, and she fit what mattered to her in the back of a Honda Accord. That tells you what matters. It's never the stuff. I didn't fight it. I should have. Should have gotten on my knees and begged. Should have quit my job, driven to her apartment, said, I see it now. Let me prove I can be different. But even in the wreckage, the pull of routine was stronger than the pull of the people I loved. I went to work the next morning, sat in my corner office, answered emails, and somewhere across town, the woman I'd loved since 23 was unpacking boxes in a strange apartment, wondering if the last 2 decades had been a waste. The divorce was finalized in 2010. Clean, efficient, the most efficient thing our marriage ever produced. I kept the house. The big, quiet, empty house I'd worked so hard to buy. The proof I'd made it, given my family everything. Everything except myself. I retired in 2018 at 57. On my last day, they threw a little party in the conference room. Cake, balloons, a card signed by people I'd worked alongside for decades. Gerald had retired years ago. Most of the people I knew well were gone. The young associates shook my hand and said, "Congratulations," with the same empty courtesy I had shown my own family for 30 years. There was a moment. just a brief one. When I stood in my corner office for the last time, I looked at the view, downtown Cleveland, the buildings, the river, the sky. I had stared at that view for nearly 20 years. I knew it better than I knew my daughter's face. I could tell you which building lit up first at dusk, which direction the clouds usually moved, which corner of the window caught the morning sun. I knew that view, the way I should have known my children. I took the card and the leftover cake, and I drove home. The house was dark, no lights, no one waiting. I walked in, put the cake on the counter, sat at the kitchen table, and looked at the chair across from me. Linda's chair, empty for 9 years. And I realized, with a clarity like a punch to the chest, that I had spent 34 years building a career, and the career was over, and I was sitting alone in a dark kitchen with leftover sheet cake and a card signed by strangers. That was the cost. That was what I paid. Part 4. The reckoning, the thing about being truly alone, where the phone doesn't ring for 3 days and you start talking to yourself just to hear a voice, is that your mind becomes a projector. It replays things. Not what you want, not the vacations or the nice moments. Those flicker by like thumbnails. No. What plays on a loop, in high definition, are the moments you failed, the moments you were needed and chose something else. I see Michael's face at Ohio State, the handshake. I see Katie scanning the audience. I see Linda in the doorway, braced for disappointment. I see Christmases where I was physically present, but mentally drafting emails. Birthday parties where I showed up late with a gift card because I hadn't had time to shop. My daughter drawing a picture of my back. I see it all, every day, like a museum of my failures. And the museum never closes. After retiring, I tried. I need you to understand that. I tried to rebuild. I called Michael in 2019 and asked about lunch. That specific pause. Someone rearranging their schedule, not because they want to see you, but because they feel obligated. And he said, "Sure, Dad." We met at a diner in Cincinnati. He looked good. We ordered. We talked. And it was like talking to a coworker. Polite, professional. We discussed his job, the weather, the Bengals draft picks. We did not discuss the 20 years of not now, buddy. Those things sat between us, like a ghost neither acknowledged. When we stood to leave, I did something I hadn't done in maybe ever. I hugged him, properly. Not a side hug, a real hug. And he stiffened, just for a second. A reflex, like his body didn't know how to receive that from me. Then he softened, put his arms around me, and we stood in the parking lot of a Cincinnati diner. 2 grown men hugging like they were meeting for the first time. "I'm sorry," I said. I hadn't planned it. It fell out like a stone lodged in my throat for 30 years. He looked at me, brown eyes like mine, careful, guarded. "I know, Dad." 2 words, not "I forgive you," not "it's okay," just "I know," which meant he'd known all along, known what I was doing, what I was choosing, what it cost, and he'd carried that knowledge his whole life, quietly, the way children do when they learn their parents aren't gods, but just ordinary, broken people stumbling through the dark. We've had lunch a few more times since. Last September, he told me his wife Rachel is expecting. I'm going to be a grandfather. When he told me, I heard something underneath. Not a request, but a test. An unspoken question. "Will you show up this time?" I said. "That's incredible, Michael." And I meant it. But in the silence after, the other thing, "You weren't there for me. Will you be there for her?" I want to be. I want to be the grandfather who shows up, who holds the baby, who sits on the floor and plays, who doesn't check his phone. But I'm 66 and I've spent a lifetime being the other kind. Changing now is like turning a cargo ship. Possible but slow, and you've already passed a lot of ports. Katie is different. Katie is the wound that doesn't close. I called her in 2020. Voicemail. Called again. Voicemail. Sent a text. "Katie, I'd love to talk." She replied 4 days later. "Really busy, Dad. Maybe next month." Next month came and went. Birthday card with a check. It was cashed. No thank you call. In 2021, I wrote her a letter. Handwritten, 6 pages. I sat at the kitchen table and wrote everything I should have said for 30 years. I told her about the recital, about the video, About seeing her search the audience, I told her about the drawing. The man at the desk, the girl in the doorway. I said I didn't expect forgiveness, but I wanted her to know I saw it now. All of it. 3 weeks later, my phone rang. Dad. Her voice. Older, steadier, but still Katie. Still the girl who grabbed my thumb. I read your letter. A silence. Long, heavy, the kind that fills a room. I appreciate you writing it, but Dad, you can't write a letter and fix 30 years. You can't say, I see it now, and expect that to be enough, because I saw it then. I saw it when I was 6, when I was 12, and you never looked at my art. Every Christmas morning when you'd sit with your phone and say, that's nice, sweetheart, without looking. I saw it my whole life. And the fact that you're only seeing it now, that's the part that hurts the most. She wasn't yelling, wasn't crying, calm, clear, like stating a mathematical fact. And that was worse, because anger leaves room for reconciliation. Calm acceptance does not. The funeral has already happened. What's being buried is the hope things could have been different. I'm not shutting the door, she said. But I need time, real time. Not your kind where later means never. My kind, where I figure out if there's something worth rebuilding. Okay, I said. That was 4 years ago. She hasn't called since. And I haven't called her because she asked for time, and I'm trying, for the first time in my life, to respect what someone else needs instead of what I want. It's the hardest thing I've ever done. Harder than any deal, any client, any ladder, sitting still, waiting, just being with the consequences of 30 years of choosing wrong. My mother passed in 2022. She was 91. Dementia by the end. But one afternoon, about a month before she died, a window of clarity opened. She looked at me, really looked, and said, Bobby, are you happy? I couldn't answer. She patted my hand, small, thin, spotted with age. Your father wasn't happy either. He worked too much. He told me near the end that the thing he regretted most was not watching you grow up. He said he blinked and you were gone. He blinked and you were gone. My father said that. The man I had become without realizing it had the same regret about me that I have about my children. The same pattern, passed down like a genetic defect. Men who confuse providing with parenting and ambition with love. My friend Dave comes by sometimes. We sit on the porch and drink beer. Dave was a plumber. Never had my money or my corner office, but his 3 kids all live within 20 minutes. They come for Sunday dinner every week. His grandchildren run through his yard. His wife Margaret is still there, still laughing at his bad jokes. Dave doesn't say it, but when he talks about his Sunday dinners, his grandson's little league game, his daughter bringing banana bread just because, he glances at me. Quick. And in that look, the comparison, the quiet recognition that one of us got it right and one didn't. It was never about money. It was about attention. I pointed mine at spreadsheets. He pointed his at faces. Now he has a house full of people who love him. And I have a cracked leather chair and a view of someone else's family. Who's the successful one? Who made it? Whose American dream actually came true? Not mine. Linda remarried in 2020. A man named Thomas. A teacher. Middle school science. She met him at a book club. Michael told me about it. He said, she seems happy, Dad, really happy. I said, good, she deserves that. And I meant it. Linda deserved every good thing in the world. Thomas was probably the kind of man who came home at 5:30 and asked about her day and meant it. The kind who didn't keep a later file. I don't hate Thomas. I'm grateful to him. Because the worst part of leaving someone isn't that they suffer, it's that they thrive without you. And when they thrive, it proves you weren't what they needed. You were what they endured. There are nights. I won't lie to you. There are nights where the loneliness is so thick, it's almost a physical thing, like a fog that fills the house. I'll be washing a single plate, a single fork, a single glass after dinner, and the smallness of it will hit me. One plate, one fork, a meal for one in a kitchen designed for a family. The refrigerator hums, the faucet drips, and I stand there with a dish towel in my hand, and I think, this is what I chose, not consciously, not deliberately, but by 1,000 small refusals, 1,000 not nows. This is where all those choices led. To a kitchen, a plate, a silence so complete that the dripping faucet sounds like a clock, counting down what's left. Part 5. What I'd tell you so, here I am, 66, chair, cold coffee. The man across the street is walking his kids to the bus again. The little girl is laughing again. The swing set is rusting again. And I'm talking to you. I don't know who you are. Young, middle-aged, somewhere in between. I'm not going to give you a speech. I'm too old for speeches. This is just an old man in a chair, telling the truth. Here's what I know. Your children don't need your money. They need your time. They need you in the room. Not just your body, but you, your eyes on them, your ears hearing them, your voice saying, "Tell me more," instead of "Not now, buddy." They need you to show up. Not sometimes, not when it's convenient. Now, this random Tuesday, this boring afternoon, because the boring afternoons, are where the love lives. The boring afternoons are where your kid is on the living room floor, doing a puzzle, and she looks up and sees you there. Not on your phone, not on your laptop. Just sitting with her. And she feels safe. Seen. Like the most important thing in the world. She carries that feeling for the rest of her life. Or she carries the absence of it. The absence lasts longer. Trust me, I know what you're thinking. You have bills, responsibilities, a career to build. I'm not telling you to quit your job. Ambition isn't the enemy. Absence is. You can be ambitious and present. But it requires something I never had. The ability to stop. Just stop. Close the laptop. Put down the phone. Go downstairs. Sit on the floor. Ask your kid what she's drawing. Really look. Ask questions. What color is that? Who is that person? Can you draw one for me? 5 minutes. That's all it takes. 5 minutes of real, undivided attention, where your child knows, with absolute certainty, that nothing in the world is more important than what she's showing you. 5 minutes. I couldn't give my children 5 minutes. I was too important, too busy, and now I have all the time in the world. 24 hours a day of empty time. And the only thing I'd trade it all for is 5 minutes on that living room floor with a crayon in my hand and my daughter beside me. I'm not going to tell you not to make my mistake, because that doesn't work. My mother warned me. She told me, "Bobby, don't be like your father. Come home early." And I nodded. And I said, "I won't, Mom. I'll be different." And I wasn't exactly the same. So I won't tell you to be different. I'll tell you something simpler. Pay attention to the chair. Every school play, every recital, every baseball game, there is a chair in the audience that belongs to you. Your child put it there. Not with their hands, with their heart. They're on that stage looking for one face. Yours. And if you're there, something lights up inside them. Something that says, "I matter. My dad came. I am not alone." And if you're not there, if the chair is empty, if you chose the conference room, something else happens. Quieter. Your child won't cry about it. They'll absorb it. They'll fold it into themselves like a letter they never wanted to read. And they'll carry it for decades. And one day, when they have their own children, they'll either break the cycle or repeat it. And which one depends on whether that chair was empty or full. I had a lot of empty chairs. And my children absorbed every one. If you're a young father, go home. Whatever you're doing, however important it seems, go home. The career will survive without you for one evening. Your child's faith in you will not. The recital won't happen again. The drawing she wants to show you won't wait. Your child doesn't want a recording. She wants your face in the crowd. And to the men who are where I was, the ones already sitting in the cracked chair wondering where everyone went, it's not too late. Not completely. The door isn't locked, just closed. And closed doors can be opened with patience, humility, and the willingness to say, "I'm sorry," without expecting anything back. Michael lets me in slowly, carefully, like letting someone into a house you rebuilt after they burned the first one down. It's tentative, but it's something, and something, after years of nothing, feels like a miracle. Katie hasn't opened the door. She may never. And I have to be okay with that. Her silence isn't punishment. It's self-preservation. And she has every right. If the only thing I can give her now is the space she asked for, I'll give it. I'll wait as long as she needs, because that's what I should have done all along. Put what she needed ahead of what I wanted. I look at that photograph on the shelf. Michael and Katie on the dock, feet dangling, laughing. I was behind the camera. Always behind the camera. always one step removed. Capturing the moment instead of living in it. If I could go back, I wouldn't change the big things. I'd just put the camera down, step off the dock into the water, sit between my children, and let my feet dangle too. Be in the photograph instead of behind it. Be in the life instead of managing it from a distance. That's all. Just be there. Just show up. Just sit down. The chair is waiting. Every evening around 6, the light in Ohio gets this warm, golden quality. It comes through my window and falls across the living room floor, across the carpet where my children used to play. And for a few minutes, the house doesn't feel empty, like it's holding its breath, waiting for someone to come home. Nobody's coming. I know that. But the light comes anyway, and I sit in my chairs and let it wash over me. This old man with cold coffee and quiet, aching love for 2 people who grew up without him. And I think not a thought exactly, more of a feeling, that the light is a kind of forgiveness, not from my children, not from Linda, from the day itself, from the ordinary, boring, beautiful Tuesday I spent a lifetime rushing through and only now understand was the whole point. The whole point was the Tuesday, the afternoon, the floor, the crayon, the daughter in the doorway, the son bouncing a ball, the wife saying, "Slow down, dinner's getting cold. Slow down, dinner's getting cold." I hear it every night. 30 years later, echoing through this empty house like a prayer I should have answered. If you hear it too, if someone is saying slow down, if someone is saving a chair for you, for the love of God, sit down and stay. Don't check your phone. Don't calculate the minutes. Don't tell yourself, "Bussy, you'll make it up later." There is no later. There is only now. And now is almost over. I'm watching it end from this chair. The light comes in every evening like a gift I no longer deserve. The street is quiet. The swing set doesn't move. Somewhere in Cincinnati, my son is about to become a father. Somewhere in Austin, my daughter is living a life I'll never know. And I am here. I am here. Finally, after everything, I am here. And there's nobody left to see it. That's my story. Not the story of a villain, not a monster, just a man who wasn't there. The biggest mistake of my life made in slow motion over 30 years. One not now at a time. If you take anything from this, anything at all, take this. The only thing your children will remember is whether the chair was empty or full. Feel the chair while you still can. Don't end up like me, kid. 66 years old, healthy enough to regret, old enough to know better, too late to do it over, sitting in a house full of room nobody enters, full of photographs nobody looks at, full of silence that used to be laughter. I had it all. I had exactly what that man across the street has right now. 2 small hands reaching for mine, a woman who loved me, a dinner getting cold because she was waiting for me to come home. I had it. The whole thing. The whole beautiful, ordinary, unrepeatable thing. And I let it go for a corner office that someone else sits in now. The clock's ticking. Can you hear it? Yeah, me too. An American life story. A deep, personal confession. A lesson learned too late, inspired by real reflections from the elderly. The quiet regrets carried by those looking back on life after 60, growing old in America, wondering where all the time went.